So you just got a new lead and their phone number, and you're ready to text them thinking that it's gonna lead you to a book demo or to a sale. But there are 11 things that you're doing right now that are quietly destroying your chances of getting a reply. And most business owners have no idea that these actions are actually killing their conversations. My name is Tristan, and I've helped thousands of companies send over 50 million text messages. And in this video, I'm gonna show you the 11 texting mistakes that are tanking your replies and exactly how to fix them. Mistake 1. This is something almost every business owner think is helping them, but it's actually making your messages feel robotic. You've probably heard of the famous speed to lead saying a million times. So what do? You set your system to fire off a text 30 seconds after someone fills out your form. You want it to be fast. You want to be on it. You think if I reply instantly, they'll be impressed and more likely to answer. But here's the problem. 30 seconds feels fake. Nobody believes a real person saw their form, read it, picked up their phone, and typed the message in under a minute. So when your text lands that fast, their brain automatically tags it as an automation. And the second that they decide that this is a bot, their guard comes up. They feel like they're talking to a system and not a person, and because of that, they're way less likely to reply to your text. The sweet spot is actually around 3 to 7 minutes after they've opted in. Within that time frame, you're close enough that they remember who you are, but far enough that it feels like a real person saw their info, wrapped up what they were doing, and then reached out. Once you start going beyond 7 to 10 minutes though, that's when they start to forget you. They get back into their day, they see your number pop up, and they think, wait, who is this again? And because of that, you're having to re-earn the context, which is probably gonna make you lose that deal. So mistake number 1 is texting your leads way too fast and making your text feel robotic instead of human. Mistake 2. This is something most business owners ignore because they're focused on compliance, but it's silently killing trust. You're trying to be compliant and do things the right way, so you let your SMS platform slap this line at the bottom of every text message that you send. Reply stop to opt out, or reply stop to unsubscribe. You see it so often that you don't even think about it anymore. You assume it's just part of your texting campaigns, and you might even feel safer having it there because it looks official. But let's look at it from your lead's point of view. They open the text, and the very last line is literally showing them how to leave the conversation, not how to reply, not how to book, how to get out. And on top of that, that line screams mass texting, blast texting. It tells them this isn't really you pulling out your phone and sending them a quick message. This is a system texting them. This is a list, and they're not special, they're one of many. When people feel like they're one of many, they don't feel any urgency or any obligation to respond. They just ignore you, or they hit the very button you just trained them to text you back, which is stop. Now, the only way to remove the opt-out line at the bottom of your text is by using a texting tool that doesn't fall under the A2P regulations, which, by the way, I've dropped in the description section of this video, and that I'll also be talking about in just about 30 seconds. So mistake number 2 is including the reply stop to opt-out line and making your text feel like a broadcast instead of a conversation. Mistake 3. This is a mistake that feels standard, but instantly drops your trust before your lead even reads your message. So you're choosing a CRM that's going to allow you to send texts, and you're wondering what's the best way to text my leads. And most platforms push you straight into the SMS world, the green bubbles, standard business texting. So you connect a number, a toll-free number, and you start sending messages, and it feels normal because that's how you've seen every appointment reminder and every promo code show up. So you think this is how business texts are, and this is what I'm supposed to do. But here's what's actually going on inside your lead's head when they see a green text from an unknown number. When they get that text, they're thinking, is this spam? Is this another promotion? Do I even know this person? Is this one of the thousands of other texts that were sent out? You know, people are trained now. Green SMS text from random unknown numbers is where spam lives on the daily. People receive texts for car warranty scams, political campaigns, random discounts, Black Friday sales, Amazon deliveries, all of it. And that's the bucket that your message goes into before your lead even reads it. And on top of that, SMS has carrier filters, A2P rules, block keywords, and restricted industries. You're fighting deliverability and trust at the same time. fine. Now, compare that to iMessage. Blue bubbles live in a different part of people's brains. That's where their friends and families and real contacts are. A blue message from what looks like a normal iPhone instantly feels more human and much more trustworthy. No more carrier filter reading your text. No forced opt-out line. No short code energy. None of that. Same words, completely different first impressions because you're texting from a channel that your leads are used to seeing. So mistake number 3 is sending your text out as SMSs instead of blue iMessages. Mistake 4. This is a mistake most people make because they're thinking they're being efficient, but it completely shuts the conversation down. You finally have your lead's attention and you're thinking, I need to take action. Book a call, fill out an application, complete a checkout. So what do? You send your very first text and you immediately drop a link. Calendly link, booking link, checkout link. And you think you're helping. You think I'm removing friction and giving them exactly where to go. This is so efficient. But the second that they open that message, they can tell what's happening. You're not trying to talk to them. You're trying to push them somewhere. Or even worse, you're trying to scam them with that link. They just gave you their phone number, and in your very first interaction, you're already pushing them off of text and asking them for a commitment. It feels rushed, it feels transactional, and it feels like they're just one of many people that's being moved down a funnel and not talked to like an actual person. The first message that you send to a lead should have one goal, and that's to get a reply. You should use a simple, low-friction question like, hey John, this is Tristan from SendBlue. You just signed up for our 10K per month webinar, yeah? And then once they answer and once there's a little back and forth between you and that lead, then you've earned the right to send them a link and to ask for a bigger step, like for them to book a call. So mistake number 4 is inserting a link in the very first message before you even got a reply. Mistake 5. This is one of the biggest killers of reply rates because it overwhelms your lead before they even read your message. You want to be clear and thorough, so you treat your first text like a brick wall. You write out who you are, what you do, what the offer is, how it works, what the next steps are, all in one giant message. And on your laptop, when you write it out, it looks fine. But on their phone, it looks like a freaking brick. Just this massive wall of text. No breaks, no breathing room. The problem is, nobody wants to read an essay on their lock screen. People skim, they glance, and then they decide in half a second whether this looks easy to deal with or like work. And when it looks like work, they push it off. I'll read that later, and that later never comes. The texts that get the most amount of replies are short and light. 1 or 2 sentences, 80 characters maximum, and one clear, simple question. You don't need to explain everything up front. You could spread information over multiple messages as the conversation unfolds. So mistake number 5 is sending brick texts instead of short messages that could get quick replies. Mistake 6. This is something most business owners do because they want to look professional, but it instantly signals corporate instead of human. You're probably used to writing emails or corporate messages, so you carry on that exact tone in your text messages. Hi John, I hope you're doing well today. We attempted to contact you regarding your recent inquiry submitted via our website form. Please let us know when we could contact you at your earliest convenience. So in that text, you're trying to sound professional because you don't want to sound sloppy. You want to look like a real company. The problem is nobody on earth texts like that in a real conversation. Your friends don't, your family doesn't, your partner doesn't, even your colleagues don't even do that. So the second your lead receives a text in that tone, they know that this isn't a real person talking to me. This is a company that's trying to talk to me. And once they feel like they're being talked at, not spoken to or spoken with, their guard goes up. Now they're expecting a pitch and not a conversation. Now what your text should sound like is something that you would say out loud. Something like, hey John, this is Tristan from SendBlue. Just saw your request come in. Are you still looking for some help with problem? You know, still clear, still respectful, but human. So mistake number 6 is using stiff professional language instead of texting the way people actually talk. Mistake 7. This is something almost every business owner does because they think persistence means just keep texting until they answer. A lead doesn't reply to your first message, so you send a follow-up. No reply again, you send another. Still nothing. You send a third, then a fourth. And before you know it, you've sent 7, 8, sometimes even 10 follow-ups to someone via text message who hasn't replied to you once. In your mind, you're being committed. You're staying on the radar. You're doing what every sales book says. Fortune is in the follow-ups. But from the lead's perspective, those repeated texts start to feel repetitive, predictable, and eventually really freaking annoying. By the time you hit your 5th or 6th unanswered message, it no longer feels like you're trying to help that person. It feels like you don't know when to stop. And there's a much bigger problem here, one that's gonna affect your number's reputation. The more unanswered texts that you send, the higher risk your number gets of being flagged as spam. Phone carriers look for patterns, and nothing looks more like a bot or a pattern than one phone number sending the same person messages after messages after messages with 0 replies. Now, here's the truth. If a lead hasn't replied to you after 4 texts, texting is no longer the best channel. The issue isn't persistence, the issue is the medium. You need to switch the channel, not increase the number of texts that you're sending. Try calling them, try sending an email, try sending a quick voice memo, try a selfie video, try a funny meme that breaks the pattern. Different channels trigger different instincts, and often one switch is all it takes for someone to finally respond. So mistake number 7 is relying on endless text follow-ups instead of switching your channel when you don't get a reply after 4 texts. Mistake 8. This is something business owners do because they want to save time, but it ends up destroying their conversations without them even realizing it. They let automation and AI handle far too much of the texting. The automation sends the first text message, then it sends the follow-up, then it sends the second and third follow-up, and before they even know it, their entire texting strategy is nothing more than a sequence of automated messages firing one after the other. Now, don't get me wrong, automation is incredible for the first couple of touch points. It's perfect for sending the first initial text message to get that lead to, engage with you and show you that they're existent and that this is a real phone number. But once the lead finally replies to you, once they take the time to respond to you, this is the exact moment where a real human has to take over. This is where most businesses go completely wrong. When that reply comes in, instead of stepping into the conversation, they let automation continue running the show. So the lead receives another template or another generic follow-up, or even worse, an obvious AI-style ChatGPT response that doesn't sound like something a real person would ever say. The moment that happens, the lead could feel it. I mean, it's so obvious. They instantly recognize that they're not talking to a person. There's no warmth in the conversation, no nuance, no natural back and forths. The conversation stops feeling like a conversation and starts feeling like a customer service chatbot. And when people feel like they're talking to a bot, they check out. They stop replying. They stop caring, and the momentum that you work to build disappears. The truth is simple. Automation should start the conversation, but a human should finish it. Once someone replies, that's your opening to build trust, ask deeper questions, and guide them towards the next steps. That moment cannot be replaced by a bot, by a template, or by a sequence. It has to be handled by the business owner, by a sales rep, by a VA, by a setter, by a closer, anyone who could create a real human connection. So mistake number 8 is letting automation handle the entire conversation instead of letting a human take over whenever necessary. Mistake 9. This is a mistake business owners make because they're trying to appear professional, but it actually makes their messages feel boring and robotic. A lot of businesses use text like it's strictly for words. There's no creativity, no personality in their texts, just plain text every time. But think about how people actually text in the real world. When someone isn't responding, your friend is ghosting you, or you're trying to get someone's attention, you send them something different sometimes. You send them a voice message to make them laugh, a selfie video, a quick meme if you wanted to, or a GIF, something unexpected. And here's why these work. A video or a voice message instantly lets the lead know that there's a real person behind these texts and it's not automated. And because of that, because it's out of the ordinary, curiosity spikes. Someone might ignore you for 2-3 texts, but they'll open a 4-second voice message from you, or watch a quick friendly video, or laugh at a simple GIF that you send to them. These formats break the pattern. They make you stand out. They make your messages feel personal, and they massively increase the chances of someone replying to you. So mistake number 9 is only sending plain text on your follow-ups and never using videos or voice messages or memes to build trust with your leads. Mistake 10. This is something business owners do because they're trying to be polite and organized, but it completely breaks the human vibe of a text conversation. You sign off your text like on email. Thanks, Mike, ABC Roofing. You think it looks professional, but people don't do this. Nobody signs off on their text. Every time that you add that little signature to the bottom of your text, it reminds your lead that this is a business system texting them and not a person texting them. What you should be doing is introducing yourself once in the very first message, and then after that, just drop the signature completely. So mistake number 10 is signing off on your text like you would on your email and breaking the flow of a natural conversation. Mistake 11. This is a mistake that almost every CRM trains you into, and it completely ruins how your business thinks texting is supposed to work. CRMs make it extremely easy to blast. One message, one list, one send button, hundreds of thousands of contacts. And because those CRM softwares train you to think that way, businesses start using texting like it's an announcement tool, a distribution tool, a megaphone. But texting was never built for blasting. Texting was built for conversations. So when you treat text as a mass messaging tool, everything feels like a campaign. Generic messages, one-way pushes, no personalization, no context, no back and forth. But when you treat your texting as a conversation tool, the way it was meant to be this whole time, everything changes. You could still automate, you could still scale, but now the messages feel like it was written for them, not blasted at them. So mistake number 11 is using texting as a blasting tool instead of a conversation tool, the way it was originally built. Now, if you want some help on taking those generic spammy text blasts you're probably sending right now and turning them into real conversation starters with your leads, especially using iMessage as your channel, check out this video right here where I'll show you exactly how to send better text for your business. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, I'll see you in that video.